Picture this. A plume of white smoke spiraled into the evening sky, a sure sign that something big had just happened. It floated high above the Sistine Chapel in Rome, glowing like a lighthouse against the dusk, a symbol that a fresh chapter was beginning. For ages, that curling smoke from the chimney has meant one thing: change is coming. It carried the dreams and prayers of millions of people worldwide, all hoping for a new direction and a bit of light in their lives. Down below in St. Peter's Square, the crowd held its breath, then exploded into cheers. People from every part of the planet were there, their faces lighting up with joy and relief. Why? Pope Francis, a man who'd shaken up the Catholic Church with his down-to-earth style, had stepped down. He'd spent his time as Pope focusing on kindness, fairness, and lifting up those who'd been forgotten. Now, someone new was taking the reins. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle from the Philippines, a man known for his big heart and close ties to everyday folks. People saw him as a bright spark for what's next. The world couldn't look away from the drama in Rome. TV stations everywhere aired the news, and social media lit up with chatter and guesses about what it all meant. For the Catholic Church, this was huge, a turning point in its long story. Choosing a new pope always stirs up a mix of excitement and soul-searching. Francis had left his mark with his simple ways, his push for justice, and his efforts to bring the Church into today's world. Now it was Tagle's turn to lead, blending old traditions with a fresh outlook. The job of Pope isn't light. It's guiding 1.3 billion people. For Francis, the years and a recent fight with pneumonia had worn him down. The world had watched, worried, as he grew frail, but his spirit never wavered. Even as his steps slowed, he kept calling for kindness and care for the planet. His choice to step aside wasn't easy, but it paved the way for a new beginning, and everyone was eager to see where it would lead. Imagine a church that's all about looking after the poor and the overlooked. Pope Francis made that his mission, and it touched hearts way beyond the Vatican. When he stepped down, it wasn't a total shock, but it still sent a wave of sadness and what's next through Catholics everywhere. Inside the Vatican's grand walls, the mood was electric. The College of Cardinals, basically the Church's big shots, locked themselves away in a secret meeting called a Conclave to pick the next pope. No one knew exactly what was happening behind those closed doors. The cardinals followed old-school traditions, praying, talking, and voting day after night. It was a heavy job. They were choosing the person who'd lead a church dealing with arguments inside, a fast-changing world outside, and some tough history to mend. The future of the Catholic Church. It was up to them. Word of Francis's exit and the conclave buzzed around the globe, from packed cities to tiny villages. Catholics and even non-Catholics couldn't stop watching, curious and a little nervous about what would happen next. In the Philippines, where faith runs deep and lively, people were on edge with excitement. Could their own Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, a hometown hero, become the first modern Asian pope? It sounded like a dream, but suddenly it seemed possible. From the Americas to Africa, Europe to Australia, everyone was waiting to see who'd step up as the Church's new leader. Cardinal Tagle was right there on the edge of something huge. With his big smile, hearty laugh, and real care for people, he was a standout. Born in Manila, he knew firsthand about poverty and faith in Asia. He'd studied at top-notch schools, sharpening his mind, but his heart stayed with the people. As Manila's Archbishop, he'd looked after millions, and through Caritas International, he'd helped lead Catholic relief efforts worldwide. Now, He was ready to bring his mix of smarts and soul to the papacy, and the world was watching. Cardinal Tagle had seen the struggles of the hurting and the forgotten up close, and it shaped him into a true people's leader, a shepherd who really got what his flock was going through. When the news broke that he'd been chosen as the new pope, the world lit up with a mix of cheers and cautious "let's see" vibes. In the Philippines, it was pure joy. Church bells rang out, fireworks painted the sky, and people spilled into homes, streets, and squares to celebrate. For lots of folks, Tagle's election felt like a fresh start for the church, a chance to connect East and West, lift up voices from the global South, and steer Catholicism toward a fairer, more open future in the 21st century. But with the excitement came some worries. Could Tagle handle the Vatican's tricky maze of rules and power plays? Would he keep Pope Francis's push for change alive while calming those who didn't want things shaken up? No one knew yet. It was a wait-and-see moment. Pope Tagle stepped into a church at a big turning point. The challenges were no joke. The ongoing mess of the clergy abuse crisis, more people turning away from religion, fewer priests and nuns signing up, and a widening split between the old-school and forward-thinking sides of the church. Still, in those tough spots, there's a shot at something new. Tagle's love for talking things out, his passion for fairness, and his deep faith give him a game plan to help the church heal, mend fences, and find its bold voice again in a world that's desperate for meaning. His time as Pope could bring a church that's more welcoming, more plugged into what's happening around it, and more in tune with the poor and the left out. Pope Francis stepping down closed a major chapter, one full of big shifts and a return to what the church is really about. He didn't just lead Catholics, he shook things up from the inside. His legacy of staying humble, caring deeply, and pushing for real change will stick around for years. For so many, especially those on the edges, he was a shining light of hope, and that glow isn't fading anytime soon. Pope Francis had a way of tackling big issues like poverty, unfairness, and injustice that really hit home with people all over the world. When the College of Cardinals picked Cardinal Tagle to take his place, they were saying, "Let's keep this going." They wanted someone who'd stick to Francis's roadmap while also stepping confidently into the future. Tagle, with his warm heart and tight bond with everyday believers, feels like a natural fit. He carries that same spirit Francis brought to the job. But he's also got his own story to tell, shaped by his roots in the Philippines and years of work across Asia, giving him a viewpoint that's both worldwide and personal. Tagle's time as Pope is like a bridge. It keeps alive the values and changes Francis started, while opening a new door to tackle today's challenges. He's taking over a church that's been through a lot, with scars to show for it, but still standing strong and hopeful. People are looking to him for direction, healing, and a fresh sense of purpose in a community that's split and craving unity. It's a huge job, and it's not just about running things. He needs a deep, inspiring vision too. Luckily, Tagle's gift for connecting with all kinds of people could be the key to bringing folks together and building a global family. His election at this big moment feels like a spark of hope for a church that wants to live out its mission everywhere. To many, he's a guiding light, someone who can make the church welcoming, kind, and forward-looking, sharing a message of love, fairness, and mercy in a world that's aching for some good news. As he takes the lead, there's a buzz of excitement and a shared hope that those values will keep shining the way forward. As the sun dips below the horizon on this historic day, casting long shadows over St. Peter's Square, a new story is starting for the Catholic Church. The air's buzzing with what's next, and you can almost feel the weight of the past hanging there. Pope Tagle's leadership is a blank slate, ready for the 21st century church to write its tale. With his fresh take and big ideas, lots of people are hoping he'll weave a story of togetherness and renewal. A church that's a safe haven for everyone, no matter who they are or where they're from. Could this be the start of a church that steps boldly into its role as a force for good? Only time will tell. But the page is turning, and the world's watching. Will Pope Tagle's leadership transform the Catholic Church into a dazzling beacon of hope, a guiding star that pierces through a world so often cloaked in shadows of despair and uncertainty? Will it rise as a champion for the poor, the overlooked, and the pushed aside, extending a warm hand of compassion and a sturdy shoulder of solidarity to lift up those who've been weighed down by life's struggles? Will it be a force that inspires, bringing light to the darkest corners and offering a promise of better days to those who've lost their way? Or will his time as Pope tell a different tale? One where the Church finds itself unraveling, tugged in opposite directions by internal squabbles, stubborn rivalries, and clashing visions of what it should be. Could it become a battleground of ideas, where old traditions butt heads with new dreams, leaving the faithful caught in the crossfire of a community tearing at its own seams? Might the weight of disagreement overshadow the unity it's meant to stand for, casting a shadow over its mission? And then there's the world outside the Vatican's walls, a place spinning faster every day, with technology reshaping how we live, think, and connect. Will the Church stride boldly into this modern age, finding ways to weave its timeless values into a landscape of smartphones, social media, and constant change? Or will it trip over its own history, clinging too tightly to age-old customs and beliefs that feel out of step with the society racing ahead? Can it adapt without losing its soul? Or will it falter, unsure of how to speak to a generation that's always one click away from the next big thing? The answers aren't clear yet. It's all a giant question mark hanging in the air, waiting to be filled in. Pope Tagle's papacy is just beginning, and the path forward is a winding one, full of twists no one can predict. Will it be a story of renewal and strength, or one of struggle and division? Will it bridge the past and the future, or get stuck somewhere in between? For now, it's anyone's guess, and the world is holding its breath, watching to see which way the wind will blow. One thing is absolutely certain. The entire world has its eyes locked on this moment, watching with bated breath as the Catholic Church steps into uncharted territory. Every single move Pope Tagle makes, every decision he weighs, every word that echoes from the Vatican's ancient halls, it's all being examined under the brightest of spotlights. From bustling cities to quiet villages, people across the globe are tuned in, their attention riveted to this unfolding drama. It's not just a passing curiosity. It's a global fascination, a collective moment where everyone's waiting to see what happens next. The air is thick with a swirling mix of emotions. There's hope, bright and buoyant, lifting the spirits of those who dream of a church that inspires and unites. There's nervousness, too, a quiet hum of worry about whether this new era will hold steady or falter under pressure. And then there's the excitement, an electric buzz that crackles through the faithful and the curious alike as they wonder what this chapter could bring. Every person, no matter where they stand, whether they're devout Catholics, casual observers, or skeptics peering in from the outside, has their own vision of what might unfold. Some see a future of healing and progress. Others brace for challenges or even disappointment. It's a kaleidoscope of expectations, each one painting this new beginning in their own unique colors. The Catholic Church's future is perched on a razor's edge, teetering between triumph and turbulence as this fresh start takes shape. Will it soar to new heights, becoming a symbol of resilience and renewal that lifts spirits worldwide? Or will it stumble, weighed down by the complexities of its past and the uncertainties of the present? It's a high-stakes moment, a tipping point that could send ripples far beyond the Vatican's walls, touching lives in ways we can't yet imagine. The stakes feel monumental, and the outcome is anything but guaranteed. This turning point serves as a powerful reminder. History isn't just some distant tale we sit back and watch unfold on a screen. It's alive, messy, and ours to shape. We're not just spectators here. We're part of the story. Every voice, every hope, every action we take plays a role in nudging this narrative forward. Pope Tagle may be at the helm, but the direction the Church takes isn't his alone to decide. It's a collective effort, woven from the dreams, doubts, and determination of millions. As this new chapter kicks off, we're all invited to the table, co-authors of a history that's still being written. One day, one choice at a time. Oh, and hey, if you liked this, stick around. Hit that subscribe button on our channel, God Always, for more cool videos and thought-provoking stuff.